Well, hello and welcome to the Modern Yin Podcast. I'm your host, Kimberley Roberts of SolefulYin, and I am so glad you're here. I want to take a moment to help you understand what this space is all about, especially if you're new here, and how this podcast can support you. This podcast is really geared for busy women, especially over the age of 40, who feel like they're constantly on the go, taking care of everything and everyone, but you know what? Not taking care of themselves. And over time, that can start to look like feeling burnt out, overwhelmed, tense, tired, but wired, or just disconnected. What I share here is a different approach. Instead of pushing harder or doing more, we focus on slowing down, supporting your nervous system, and creating a sense of safety in your body. Because here's the thing, when your body feels safe, everything starts to shift. Your energy improves, your mind becomes clear, your body softens, and you begin to feel more like yourself again. Inside this podcast, you'll find simple practices using Yin Yoga, acupressure, reflexology, breath work, mindfulness. These are all designed to fit into what I call real life, even when you only have a couple of minutes. And if you're looking for more support, you can come and join me inside my Patreon. That's where I share full Yin Yoga classes, guided practices for emotional support, nervous system resets, and even nourishing recipes to support your overall well-being. It's really a space where you can go deeper at your own pace and in a way that feels supportive, not overwhelming. So whether you're listening while walking, resting, or just taking a moment for yourself, I'm so glad you're here because you've landed in the right place. Take a deep breath, let those shoulders soften, and let's begin. Well, if you were here for last week's episode, I dove in deep about anxiety and menopause. This week, I want to shift gears a little bit. I want to talk about what really happens during perimenopause. So this is the part before menopause happens, okay? So grab yourself a bevy of choice, maybe sit on the couch, maybe you're outside walking as you listen to this episode, but let's get started. So there's a moment many women experience in perimenopause where they're thinking, what the heck is happening to me? Like suddenly it's like, okay, I slept well last night, but the night before I slept like crap. My anxiety, I didn't have any problems with what happened yesterday, but 2 days ago I got anxious for I don't know why. And let's talk about frustration or impatience that just like brews out of nowhere. And your overall energy just becomes like less predictable and stable. And even things that never used to bother you before, suddenly you're like, this is pissing me off or this is overwhelming me. And so many women assume that, like there's something wrong with me. But what I want to talk about today is this. I've said this before about menopause. Menopause is not just a hormonal transition. It's a nervous system transition too. So is perimenopause. And once you start to understand that, everything starts making a lot more sense. And if you go back to one of my older episodes where I talk about why high functioning women over 40 are still in survival mode, like this is going to make so much sense when we start talking about nervous system regulation. All right? Okay, so let's get started here. So perimenopause is officially that transition that leads up to menopause. It's months, the beginning years before a woman's final menstrual cycle happens, right? And for some women, it can start late, like late 40s, early 50s. For some women, it can start in their late 20s or early 30s. I know for me, it started in my mid 30s. I started to notice shifts like with my sleep, energy levels, digestion even. And as for my nervous system being regulated, yeah, I was nowhere in near that zone back then. There was not a whole lot of nervous system regulation happening. But this is the time when your estrogen and progesterone start fluctuating. Now, it's typically progesterone kind of starts to decline first, and that's why women often notice like the sleep irregularities, okay? But it's not like a straight linear path. It's not like, oh, well, estrogen declines this amount and progesterone declines that amount. Like, no. It's very unpredictable and it's different depending on the woman. And I will tell you, if I had known what I know now, back when I was in perimenopause, I would have paid way more attention and been far more diligent about regulating my nervous system. Because I will tell you that your hormones can wreak havoc in your body if you're not regulating your nervous system. And I want to say that your hormones affect so much more than just your period. Like they influence your mood, your sleep, your stress resilience, brain function, emotional regulation, nervous system itself. Like a lot of women associate, menopause and perimenopause with the physical changes in the body that happens. But it's not always that. There's so much more, okay? And when all of these hormones start shifting during perimenopause, this is when your nervous system starts becoming more sensitive too. This is the beginning of like real transition in your nervous system and why regulating your nervous system is so important. So why does everything feel so much more intense? Like the anxiety, the irritability, the overwhelm, the emotional sensitivity. Like this is not weakness. It's literally physiology, okay? It's the buffering system is changing, okay? Your nervous system has less tolerance for chronic stress, overstimulation, and constant pushing, which again, for women over 40, especially if they're in a high functioning state, this is why regulating their nervous system is so important. And honestly, when women start to hit perimenopause, they realize, you know what? Like this way that I've been living, like this is just not sustainable anymore. Like I just can't do it. You don't have the energy, you don't have the patience, you don't have the drive. You don't even have the ambition to be like keep pushing forward. You're like, I'm done. Like there's got to be something. And this is when often the high functioning woman crashes. Okay? just think about it. She's been in survival mode for decades. Okay? I can totally relate to that. When I was married to an alcoholic, I spent decades high functioning, but not emotionally stable and certainly not regulated in my nervous system. So when these women have spent decades holding everything together, pushing through exhaustion, because let's face it, you're a little bit younger then, so you kind of have the energy to push it even though you really shouldn't be. This is where you're still prioritizing everybody else and you're overriding your own body's needs. So when perimenopause hits, finally, the body says, yeah, we need a different approach here because what we've been doing for the last several decades is just not working anymore. And the body is always communicating with you, always, 365, 24/7. So sometimes the way that the body communicates with you during this transition is anxiety heightens, sleep disrupts, you're more tired, fatigued, you burn out a lot faster, and there's a whole lot of emotional volatility, right? Like that one tiny little thing just makes you snap. And that's not all because your body is failing. It's because it's trying to tell you, hey, we need to regulate here. This is not a sustainable way of living anymore. This is why nervous system regulation matters so much. Once you hit perimenopause and you start shifting to menopause, I'm telling you, because I've already been through perimenopause and I'm in menopause now, learn from what I made mistakes about. I did not prioritize nervous system regulation enough. I did at times, but I certainly didn't make it something regular or consistent when, honestly, I hate to use the word should, but I should have, given the situation and the climate I was in at the time. So let me say this really clearly. This is the time when nervous system regulation is foundational, and it has to be that way. Not optional, not whenever you feel like it. It has to be consistent and foundational in your life. If you want to start to coast perimenopause in a much better way, and I will tell you this, and again, this is based on my own experience, if you don't start taking care of yourself during perimenopause, when you hit menopause, it's not going to be a fun roller coaster ride. And for me, and again, every woman is different, every woman's body is different, everyone's lifestyle is different. But for me, during perimenopause, I ended up having to go on bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. And I really didn't want to go on it. But I didn't have a choice, given the situation that I was in at the time. But I will tell you that if I had made my nervous system a higher priority, I can guarantee you, because I know myself very well, I can guarantee you that I would not have had to go on bioidentical HRT. But again, we learn, right? So it is what it is. But you see, when your nervous system is already so stressed out, your hormonal fluctuations are more intense. But the body is like, well, it needs support. But then the symptoms, once the support starts being layered in regularly, consistently, the symptoms start to soften. This is why things like rest, making sure you're getting enough sleep, proper nourishment, proper balance of protein to fiber to carbs, so important. Breath work, acupressure, meditation, just a slower rhythm to life, and of course, Yin Yoga. These become so important during perimenopause. Now, when I was in perimenopause, I definitely did Yin. I didn't do as much breath work as I do now, and I wish I had have, because there's nothing better for me than 5 minutes of breath work in the morning and 5 minutes of breath work at night before I literally close my eyes. I certainly didn't get enough rest. I should have prioritized my sleep a lot more. Nourishment, I was pretty good in terms of, like, I ate clean, but my ratio of protein to fiber was not the best. So all of these things, they're not luxuries. They're nervous system support. I want you to start to think of it that way. This is why on my Patreon, I have nourishment included there. Like I put up free posts every week on food, so recipes, but I also give you the why. Like, why is this good to eat? What does this do for you? How does this help your nervous system? Because this is the type of stuff that I wish I would have had back when I was in perimenopause. I also have like insightful posts, 3 times a week where it's like, you know what? Try this little tip and try this little technique. I even have like an entire free program called Ground and Glow. It's a 10-day menopause program, but I'm going to be honest with you. If you're in perimenopause, I would go and hop on that program anyway, because it's foundational for supporting your nervous system, and it's free, and it's 10 days. And this is again why I'm so passionate about helping women over the age of 40, because as you get older, what you can tolerate and what you can navigate really starts to shift. And also, what women start to realize is that what they used to do that worked for them before no longer does. And here's why. It's not that what you might be doing is wrong. It's not that it's because your body is asking for more force or push. It's actually asking for more support. So don't ditch anything that you might be doing currently, but start to think about layering on more things that help. Now, this is why the modern yin perspective for me is so important, because it's really about learning how to work with your body during this transition in your life. Not trying to fight it. Not trying to push through it, because we've all been there and we've all done that. And not because we're trying to treat symptoms like they're an inconvenience. They're not. They're communication. Just like your emotions. Your emotions are indicators of where you were at. And we have to start listening more. We have to start pausing more to be able to listen. Because when you're just running around like a hamster on a wheel, guess what? There's no space for you to listen. So you got to pause and listen and start supporting and start regulating. Because you know what? A lot of women start to think, oh, perimenopause, it's like the beginning of the end. It's the end of my vitality. No, it's not. It's just a recalibration season. And it's often an invitation into a more sustainable, stable way of living. And let's face it, when we start getting over 40, like we don't want to be on the emotional roller coaster ride anymore. We don't want to be physically up and down like a yo-yo. Like we want a slower pace. We want more time for ourselves without the guilt, without the shame, without the punishment. And this is the kind of support that I focus on inside my Patreon. It's literally devoted for women over the age of 40. I am very much a proponent of nervous system regulation, if you haven't figured that out yet by either this podcast episode or several of my podcast episodes. Because I'm all about that. I'm all about deep sleep. Like when I was younger, I could push through getting a crappy night's sleep, but now I don't have the patience for that. Like sleep is my number one priority. Emotional balance. Because again, I don't like being on an emotional roller coaster. Yes, I'm going to get angry. Yes, I'm going to worry. Yes, I'm going to be scared. But I don't want to live in those emotions all the time. I want to have some resilience there. And of course, I offer lots of yin yoga. I even have acupressure and reflexology to help you as well with balance. And again, let's talk about the food, because I feel like, you know what, nervous system regulation very much includes how you eat, because what you put in is what you get out. And I'll be honest with you, you're probably going to laugh at this, because I still laugh about this part. But when I was in high school, I remember like it was the year where, okay, we start taking home economics, right? Like that's cooking and cleaning and sewing. And I was like, I remember saying to my, one of my teachers, I was like, I don't want to take home ec. What do I want to do that for? I think this is useless. I didn't want to take it. Of course, I had to take it, and I failed. I failed home ec. I couldn't sew a button to save my life, and I burnt everything that I made. But now, I will tell you that, you know, you're probably wondering, well, how the heck have you survived so long? Well, I'll tell you that when I met my husband, he was a chef. So guess who did all the cooking? He did. And we hired a cleaner. But when I moved out on my own, I very quickly realized I got to learn how to cook. And I got to learn how to cook well and inexpensively, but I want to be able to cook nutritious food like I was having before. So I learned. Did I make lots of mistakes? Did I burn lots of things on the stove? Absolutely at first. Did I make some stuff that I tasted afterwards and went, oh my God, this is disgusting. This didn't work. Yeah, but now I will tell you, I'm going to pat myself on the back here. I love to cook, and what I cook is absolutely phenomenal. So this is why I'm so passionate about food. If you wonder why else, I have that on my Patreon. And I want to say to you that this transition in your life, it's natural. You can't avoid it, but it needs support. It doesn't need silence, and it doesn't need ignoring. So if perimenopause has made you feel like your body is suddenly changed overnight, I want to tell you something. First of all, it didn't just change overnight. It's been changing for a while. It's just maybe you haven't been noticing so much. But you're not imagining any transitions. And your nervous system is adapting to a major transition. Perimenopause is a major transition. And then menopause is even a greater transition. And so perimenopause requires you to be a little softer, a little steadier, and find a more supportive way of living. And that means more rest, more regulation, more compassion for yourself, okay? This is why I call it Modern Yin, because it's where stillness does the real work. And perimenopause, it's often the season where the body stops tolerating the life that the nervous system was already struggling to carry for so long. And I'm going to leave you with that and let that sink in. And I'll see you in the next episode. If today's episode supported you in any way, the next best step is to come practice with me. Inside my Patreon, I share simple yin yoga, acupressure, reflexology, and nervous system practices designed for busy women who want to feel calm, grounded, and back in their bodies without needing a ton of time. You'll also find full classes, guided practices, and even nourishing recipes to support your well-being. Until next time, take a deep breath, slow things down, and take care of you. And I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks so much for pressing play today.